Hello, all of you. Let me introduce my company, Octa Networks. Octa Network is a leading institution for IT network training in the country with headquarters in Mumbai. We provide training across multiple Cisco systems, including security, collaboration, routing, switching, and now enterprise, data center, wireless, service provider, etc. We are having labs which are fully equipped with the latest state-of-art technology, and the equipments are available 24 by 7 for students who enroll us and want to do courses. We have already made more than 5,000 CCIs in all the streams and almost more than 100 CCDs also. So this was like brief introduction of my company, Octa Networks. Now let's introduce myself. My name is Munawwar S. Khan. I'm having 15 years of experience in Cisco. I worked as a network engineer where my job was for designing, monitoring and troubleshooting of the networks. Then I stepped into teaching. When I started my teaching career, I started taking a lot of in-house batches, corporate trainings. These trainings were not only national, it was international corporate trainings also. And now as the train goes on, online trainings. Online trainings are becoming more and more popular, so I'm into that also. I did some of my Cisco certification in these tracks, and I'm expert in this few tracks which I have mentioned here, that is routing and switching. Now I have upgraded it to enterprise, security definitely, collaboration and wireless. So these are my certification, and these are my uh, technologies where I train students, and I've already trained many students. Okay, so today I thought of doing some demo recording of my track called wireless. So just before starting CCI wireless or CCI enterprise wireless, which is a new, altogether new certification in CCI, they changed the name from CCI wireless to CCI enterprise wireless version 1. And just to give you an overview of this exam, you have to clear first CCI enterprise wireless. The qualifying exam is implementing and operating Cisco enterprise network core technologies, which is NCORE. Now this is a compulsory qualifying exam. You have to clear. The exam number is 350401. After finishing or after qualifying this exam, which is going to test your knowledge about implementing and operating Cisco enterprise network core technologies, okay, you'll be learning or you'll be understanding the core technologies. This exam is common for CCI enterprise and wireless. So if you do this exam, you are also entitled for doing CCI enterprise. So this is the good news from Cisco, that you have to just qualify this exam, that is called NCORE 350401, and then you can plan for both CCI enterprise, or you can plan for CCI enterprise wireless also. After that, you can plan for CCI enterprise wireless, that is the lab exam, which is a practical exam, an 8-hour hands-on exam. This exam now more focus on some very important topics, or you can say the network life cycle. I have shown you the diagram. This is definitely Cisco's plan of action, where it's telling that you should know how to design a wireless network, how to deploy. After designing, you have to deploy it, operate it and optimize it. So this is a cycle, it will never end. So continuously you will be designing, deploying, operating and optimizing. Okay, so this is an ongoing chain or ongoing cycle that Cisco want you to do. So as a CCI wireless guy, you should be prepared for design, deploying, operate and optimize. These are some of the points I have mentioned, or you can say these are the core topics which is definitely designed by Cisco Enterprise Wireless. Cisco's exam topics for practical exam, that is radio frequency and standards. Definitely there are a lot of subtopics inside this, but I just made it a shortcut overview of these topics. Enterprise wired campus, then you have, so this is like the first topic. Second, enterprise wired campus, enterprise wireless network, wireless security and identity management. Definitely when you implement or when you design, first you design, then you implement wireless network. After that the security will be the very important task, you have to do it, and for that you have ICE, that is identity. So this is like, you can say, Cisco's ICE, wireless business application and services, automation, analytics and assurance. So I just giving you a short overview of all the topics which are there in CCI Enterprise Wireless. And in this demo session today, I'm going to cover a topic which is part of Enterprise Wired Campus, and the topic name is VXLAN. Okay, so let's move on to this topic, VXLAN. I know this is like a new topic for all the audience or all the students who are already known to wireless and routing, switching. Okay, people have heard in their CCNA, like, for years CCNA is there, CCNP is there, and people have heard about VLAN. They know what is VLAN, but now this is something like, a new topic that everybody is like, discussing, like what is VXLAN, what is, okay, what is virtual extensible LAN. X means extensible LAN. So everybody is discussing about this topic, and so I thought of recording a small demo lecture for this. Definitely this is a very big topic, so it will not be covered in depth here, but I try to give you some brief information about this VXLAN, like what are the different type of headers, how it works, and I try to compare it with the legacy, or you can say the traditional 802.1q frame tagging method. Okay, so here the question that comes in, every student's or every network professional's mind is why you need a new extension for VLAN. Already VLAN was working fine, everybody knows that VLAN, what is virtual LAN, everything. But remember one thing, when you studied VLAN, you studied spanning tree also. That is, when you started learning switching, you also studied about spanning tree protocol, which is there in all the switches to avoid loop. That is layer 2 switch, layer 2 loop prevention mechanism. We say it layer 2 loop prevention mechanism, that is spanning tree protocol. So definitely VLAN uses spanning tree protocol for loop prevention, which ends up not being able to use half of the network by blocking redundant paths. So if you are aware with the VLAN part, you know that if you implement, or when spanning tree start working in the first 50 seconds, definitely you will try to elect some root bridge, some root port, designated port, and then finally you will see that all the other redundant path is blocked. Definitely the motto behind spanning tree to do that is to block the redundant path. No doubt people then came out with Ether channel for bundling those network and utilizing the throughput of those links, definitely. But still spanning tree is concentration, or spanning tree is working, says that all the redundant paths should be blocked. Okay. But then what is the difference between a normal VLAN and a VXLAN? So basically in VXLAN, the packets are transferred through the underlying network that is based on its layer 3 header and takes complete advantage of the layer 3 routing. ECMP, that is equal cost multi-pathing and link aggregation protocol, is used and use all available path. That means if we try to compare the first point where spanning tree is trying to block all the redundant path, the second point, which is justifying that why we have to go for VXLAN, where in VXLAN it is telling that he is going to use some layer 3 routing, he is going to use equal cost multipathing, and he is going to use the link aggregation protocol, and he is going to make the use of all the available path. But here you see he is using some term called layer 3 header, he is using some term called underlying network. So in this technology, which is normally called software defined access, Cisco's SD access, software defined access, or you can say Cisco's SD access, VXLAN is the part which is used for encapsulating the packets basically. So VXLAN packets actually is using this underlying network. So there are two types of network normally, underlay and overlay. Okay, no doubt, again this is again a topic which you should know. So I'm not going to mix up this topic here with VXLAN. Okay, but I'm going to give you an overview of what is underlay and what is overlay. Second point, a third point that we have we just discuss about this point and the comparison point in VXLAN. VLAN has been running in DC, that is data center, for many years, but with the rapid growth of virtualization, on-demand VM, and the increasing customer, 4000 VLAN is not sufficient. Now this point is actually focusing more on that VLAN. See, normally when we studied VLAN, we studied that we have only 4096 VLANs. We can go up to 4096 VLAN. So I read it somewhere that if we give 8 VLANs to one customer, you can imagine how many VLANs we can give it to the customer, like 8 5s are 40. So we can club only 500 customers. We cannot club more than 500 customers because we are giving them, say, 8 VLANs. So if each customer is getting 8 VLANs, we are not going to club more than 500 customers. That is the limitation in normal VLANs. Okay. So VXLAN overcomes this problem, because in VXLAN what happens, let me show you that slide. In VXLAN what happens, we can go up to 16 million. Let me show you that slide. See, it allows 16 million layer 2 segments. That means VXLAN header, or the header, can contain values allowing 16, that is 2 power 24, because VXLAN is 24 bit compared to normal VLAN. Okay, .1q VLAN identifier space is only 12 bits, whereas VXLAN identifier space is 24 bit. That means you're going to get 16 million, that is 16777,216 layer 2 segments compared to 4000 VLAN. That means you are in normal VLAN, you are just stick to 4096. Okay, that is the end. But if you are using VXLAN, you can go up to 16 million layer 2 segments. Okay, so you're getting more scope. So this is a big difference. I'm trying to explain you that this is a big difference you're getting. Okay, if you compare normal VLAN with VXLAN, and in data centers and all, you need all those stuff. So also because of the limitation of STP, this is the one of the reason, like I'm telling you, that you're getting up to 4000 VLAN, 4096 that is, and here you're getting 16 million layer 2 segments. Okay, and plus there is a limitation, like I told you, the link or a path utilization, conversion issue, MAC table size, and some of the network link are underutilized. So these are some of the problems. Okay, so VXLAN is going to resolve these issues. So VXLAN is a MAC in UDP encapsulation method that is used in order to extend layer 2 or layer 3 overlay network over layer 3 infrastructure that already exists. That means definitely there will be the setup ready. Okay, which setup ready? Like you have studied in normal legacy traditional methodology, your book always say in CCNA that you should have access layer, distribution layer, and core layer. Your switches are arranged in this order. That is, you will be having access layer where you will be having an endpoints connected, then you have a distribution layer, then you will be having a core layer. But now afterwards they did what? They changed this whole topology, and they now say in data center, at least for data center, I'm not talking about normal LAN infrastructure in an office, you can still go on with this topology of access, distribution, and core, but at least data center have migrated themselves from these kind of topology to a different topology called spine leaf. I'm going to show you the slide where I have designed this spine leaf topology. So there is a new term coming in. Definitely this new term is attached with VXLAN. That is why I'm telling you about this spine leaf. VXLAN uses spine leaf topology. So VXLAN is a MAC in UDP encapsulation method. I'm talking about this point, that is used in order to extend a layer 2 or layer 3 overlay network. That means now there is a combination of layer 2 as well as layer 3 overlay network. Earlier we were having only trunk links, that's all. Spanning tree is working and making all the encapsulations and decapsulation working. All the frames were transmitted from one end to another end, one PC to another PC in the same VLAN or different VLANs through SVIs. But now we have a different topology. No doubt switches are same, okay, but their working has been changed. Endpoints are there, like IP phones are there, PCs are there, printers are there. So VXLAN is this. The VXLAN encapsulate or encapsulation provides a VNI. It's a new term that is coming in VXLAN, that is network ID. So VXLAN is not sticking to the VLAN ID. In your legacy, or you can say traditional methodology, VLAN ID was what more important. That is VLAN 10, VLAN 20. That VLAN information has to get tagged in the frames. But in VXLAN, encapsulation provides a VNI, which is VXLAN network ID. So you are listing a new term, VXLAN network ID, that can be used to provide segmentation of layer 2 and layer 3 data traffic. To facilitate the discovery of this VNI, that is VXLAN network ID, over the, I told you 16 million layer 2 segments are there, so there will be some numbers which can be used. And this is definitely not related to your VLAN ID. It can be anything. It can be VLAN. If your machine belongs to VLAN 10, it can be 10, but it is not necessary that you have to stick to that same number, that is 10. You can give any VLAN network ID. It is decided by the VXLAN switches that which VNI they should give. To facilitate the discovery of this VNI over the underlay layer 3 network, virtual tunnel endpoints is used. Now see, again there is a term called virtual tunnel. So tunnel endpoints has to be used. So there is a new term that is coming. So first you heard about VNI, that is VXLAN network ID, and the second term that you heard now is VTAP, that is VXLAN tunnel endpoint. So definitely there will be some kind of tunnel being built between these switches. So as I was telling you about the spine leaf topology, I'll show you how the tunnels are built between these switches. That means your traffic is going to go inside, or your traffic is getting encapsulated then it will be tagged with some tunnel endpoints, or you can say the loopback IP addresses, and will be sent inside the tunnel. There will be a kind of a tunnel being built. Like already you, those who are in security or those who are working as a network engineer knows about GRE tunnels. I'm not telling that we are going to have GRE tunnels, but I'm telling you that GRE tunnel kind of tunnels being building. If you are aware with GRE tunnels, like you must be knowing that there will be a source IP, a tunnel source IP, then you'll be having a tunnel destination IP, then you'll be having an IP address for the tunnel interface also. Simple GRE tunnel carrying all the routing protocols, carrying anything, can carry data also. Okay, anything. Once the tunnel is built, it can carry routing protocol, it can carry multicast traffic, it can carry any damn thing, and it is very simple to configure, no doubt. So here we're not talking about GRE tunnel. I'm just giving an example that there might be this kind of tunnels being built between these switches to carry the encapsulated packet of one PC to another PC to facilitate the discovery of this VNI over the underlay layer 3 network. Virtual tunnel endpoint is used, that is VTAP. It maps the layer 2 frames to a VNI in order to be used in the overlay network, in order to encapsulate customer layer 2 and layer 3 traffic in VNI over the layer 3 network. Now see, no doubt I have written these points here, but I'll just explain you, because just reading the point you won't be able to understand. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. I was just there was a question like, why you need a new extension for VLAN when you already have this. So I just wrote down the points, like why there is a need for VXLAN. So what is the difference you're going to, so just to make you aware of the terms VLAN network ID and VTAP. Okay, see, what is VXLAN? VXLAN technology is meant to provide the same service to connected end system that VLAN do today, but in a more extensible manner. That is why the term X is there. VXLAN technology is meant to provide what? The same service to connected Ethernet. See, what we are doing in the traditional 802.1q frame tagging methodology, or the switching, the same thing we are here also we are providing. The VXLAN technology is meant to provide the same service to connected Ethernet end system that VLAN do today, but in a more extensible manner. That means that part is same. Compared to VLAN, VXLAN are extensible with regards to the scale, to scale the reach of their deployment. 80.1q VLAN, just now I told you, .1q VLAN identifier space is only 12 bits. The VXLAN identifier space is 24 bits, and this is too much. This doubling in size allows the VXLAN ID space to increase over, see, this is the number, to 16 million unique identifiers. VXLAN uses both IP, that is both unicast and multicast, as the transport medium. The ubiquity of IP network and equipment allows end-to-end reach of the VXLAN segment to be extended far beyond the typical reach of VLAN with use of .1q today. Okay. With the help of this diagram, I am trying to show you the traditional networking, that is switch address learning process. So if you see this is a pure trunk between two switches. Why there is a trunking? Because in this diagram you can see there are two VLANs, that is 10 and 20. So if you want to transmit, if you want to send the traffic of two VLANs over the trunk link, you need to have a .1q trunk. You have two methodology, you must be aware, ISL and .1q. So here I have taken .1q trunking, and see, this diagram shows that if you do .1q trunking, this trunk carries VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 separately by tagging it. This is also trunk, this is also trunk, this is also trunk. So if this PC wants to communicate with this PC, definitely you must be aware of the ARP. 10.2 is looking for the 10.2 is looking for 10.3, which belongs to the same VLAN. He makes a packet where source IP is 10.2 and 10.3 is the IP. So IP part is okay. Then he is using the MAC address, that is source MAC is on, but destination MAC is not aware. So he's going to add what? FFFF, all aware about this layer 2 broadcast address. Source MAC, his own MAC, destination 10.3 is MAC address, you don't know, so he's going to send an R broadcast. When this switch receives, see here, this is how the .1Q frame format. I showed you the diagram. Now I've shown you with the help of a small diagram. End device always send this Ethernet frames toward the switch. They are connected and these frames are basically untagged. So Ethernet header, then you have payload and waveform. Now see, this is a simple untagged header that is being sent by this PC to this switch, because this PC don't know how to tag it. So this is the header being sent by the PC to switch. But now what is switch responsibility? The switch responsibility is what? That he has to add a tag, because this frame comes from, or this information or this payload comes from VLAN 10. So he has to put a tag in this field. So you see one more field is added to this, and it has to be sent on a trunk link. So once the frame is tagged with the .1Q tag methodology that you have mentioned when you configure trunk link, you already mentioned switch port encapsulation, switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q, switch port mode trunk. You already mentioned the .1Q tagging method. So he's doing what? He's tagging the frame. Plain frame is getting tagged and sent it over the trunk links. This is again a traditional method. I'm just telling you, I'm showing you the traditional method. So I hope, see, everybody knows, because everybody have done their CCNA and CCNP. If you have not done the CCNA, you got aware that how this PC communicates with this PC in the same VLAN, how the ARC take place, how the ARC broadcast take place, how the information comes in their frames, and then the frame is being transmitted from one end to another with the help of frame tagging method. Okay. I told you in the beginning that VXLAN, see, this was the traditional method. Okay, so I just ended here. Now I'm just moving on to the spine leaf architecture for your the brief information. In this two-tier class architecture, because I read it somewhere, this is designed by the class, his name is there. In this two-tier class architecture, every lower tier switch, that is leaf is like access layer switches. It's connected to each of the top tier, that is might be core switches, or you can say it is a collapse core, because I feel they have just reduced the 3 layers, that is access, distribution and core, into only 2 layers. One is access layer, that is called leaf, and the spine is like a mixture of both core and distribution. Okay, so I'm talking about a spine leaf architecture, which is definitely, and you can say, widely being used by the data centers. In this two-tier class architecture, every lower tier switch, that is leaf layer, is connected to each of the top tier switches. You can see there is a links getting connected from leaf to all these spine switches. That means every leaf switch has to get connected to the spine switch. That is why I've just wrote the points. Each leaf switch was connected to the spine switch. Each spine switch must connect to every leaf switch. Leaf switches cannot connect to each other. There should not be unnecessary loop, or you can say path for confusion. So they said we don't want such confusion. So we don't want this connection here. Plus we don't want connection between the spine switches also. Let the topology be clear, or you can say very simple, 2 hop away. If I want to communicate with this machine, I am always 2 hop away. If this switch is not working, I am 2 hop away. If this machine switch is not working, at least I am 2 hop away. So every time you see there is a 2 hop away technology, or you can say 2 hop away system. Maximum 2 hop away. Maximum 2 hop away. Maximum 2 hop away. Unnecessary confusion. to be avoided, and for that reason they don't have any communication or connectivity between these leaf switches. So leaf layer consists of access switches that connect to devices such as servers. There might be servers, like if you are using Cisco switches, Cisco will go for Cisco UCS, Unified Computing Servers, on VMware or ESXi servers, virtual servers. So leaf layer consists of access. I'm talking about data center because I told you it is being widely used in data center. Okay. So the spine layer is the backbone of the network and is responsible for interconnecting all leaf switches. Every leaf switch connects to every spine switch in the fabric. So each leaf switch must connect to every spine switch. So these are some of the points. Okay, I hope you understood. Come back to, see, this was just, I wanted to give you brief information about spine leaf architecture because I told you VXLAN is going to use this architecture. VXLAN creates virtual network on top of the existing infrastructure. See, VXLAN actually creates virtual network on top of the existing infrastructure. Already the infrastructure is there. The leaf switches are there. The spine switches are there. Okay, this is called what? Overlay network. The infrastructure that runs on is called underlay. Okay, so you have already a infrastructure that is overlay, and then you're working that runs on it is called underlay. Okay, I told you again, overlay and underlay, it's again a big topic. Okay, just to give you a brief knowledge about. Okay, so VXLAN typically utilizes a spine leaf topology. VXLAN replaces direct connected. Now this is good news. Like, you know, we don't want now this trunk links. So you can see this is a VXLAN topology. I have made it. You see, earlier we were having a trunk link between them. So we don't want this now, because my traffic was only moving from this trunk link. I just removed it. Now we are having what? Switches, which are called spine switches. These are leaf switches, and this whole scenario is what? Layer 3 connectivity. We don't want STP, we don't want trunk links. Let's remove this in VXLAN, and this connectivity has now become what? Layer 3 connectivity. Got it? See, we are trying to, you know, it is not necessary that this traffic has to move from one switch to another. It can move like that also. It can move like that also. I told you, 2 hop away. And the most important is, like, you know, see, this is the VXLAN header, and I was telling you that most important is we are going to form, or you can say it will be having a tunnel between these two, and these are the tunnel endpoints, you can say. Okay, so at least to start with the VXLAN topic. Okay, I know this is a big topic, so I'll be explaining all these things to you in this VXLAN lecture, definitely, and there are a lot more things to explain. How this VXLAN header, how this VXLAN frames, what are the different headers are there, how the packets get encapsulated, everything can be explained in depth. This was just a brief demo, and these are the slides. I have made it personally just to explain you. I hope you like my way of explaining. No doubt it is just a brief introduction to VXLAN. I have not just finished VXLAN. There are a lot of things to be explained. I hope you like this demo. Please note down my website address, that is www.oktanetworks.com. Email ID info@oktanetworks.com. Please memorize this phone number, Skype ID, YouTube information, LinkedIn links, Facebook, Twitter. If you have any queries regarding this new topics or CCI wireless or VXLAN or individual topics, please contact Okta Networks. I hope you like this brief introduction. Definitely I'll be coming out with the other part of this